Blue zones. Those 5 locations around the world where people just seem to live a little longer. If there's one consistent theme amongst these blue zones, is that they're nowhere near Oceania. Cripes, Netflix cut New Zealand off the map. So we've dug into the data, built the maps and the models to show you where the Oceania blue zones are. Global life expectancy has increased significantly over the last 150 years. Compared to 150 years, everywhere around the globe is now a blue zone. This has come about by increased affluence and the accessibility of universal healthcare. A female child born today would have a modal life expectancy of over 90 years. And that's some fantastic news for everyone that we can bank early in the vid. Now let's start to look at the geographical areas that are leading the charge in this regard. There's a good distribution around the continent, from Perth, Adelaide, Hobart, Noosa, Waiheke Island to Queenstown. Really quite impressive. In fact, the biggest misses in terms of main centres is actually Canberra and Wellington, the capitals. Now we're looking deeper than just lifespan here, we're also looking at health span. Great bit of work done by AIA Insurance, looking at the underlying factors that start to contribute to longer life expectancy. This bit of work was done for Australia and we've dug in and done the detail, basically replicating that bit of work for the New Zealand side of things as well. Looking at common themes amongst these locations and what drives them. Important factors were green space, community engagement and cohesion, health literacy and education, and socio-economic advantage, which is defined by the grilled chicken line, essentially those who goes to Charlie's versus those who live on the Red Rooster side of the city. But seriously, look at that. You like St George's, Waverley, Mosman, Northern Beaches, and then you take a gander at New Zealand and it's Aoraki, Waiheke Island, Hibiscus Coast, Queenstown, Tasman, Selwyn. And on the edge of all those affluent inner city suburbs with great public transportation, you've got the Blue Mountains, which gets there more on nature and active transportation. Here we're pulling up activity, walking, biking, running data within Sydney. And you can see in the inner suburbs, those affluent areas that we talked about, there is a huge amount. And then when you move west, the map gets slightly dimmer until you get out to Blue Mountains area. The lower mountains of Springwood to Leonay and upper mountains around Katoomba, where there's thousands of kilometres of trails, huge amounts of access to nature, and this seems to drive these locations. You'd have to say the same patterns are in play for the places like the Adelaide Hills, Noosa, Queenstown, Launceston. And this highlights an important consideration, that access to the flashless gym does not inhibit one's ability to lead an active lifestyle. Same with the rest of these. No matter where you live, you can take charge and start to drive outcomes. Cities looking to maximise this will look at building walkways amongst rivers and flood zones where buildings otherwise not appropriate. There'll be public baths and athletics fields. We cycle trails and plantings or tree planting plants for the whole city to get rid of the heat sink and encourage residents to get active. Yes, it might be hard to have a home veggie patch where you are, but conscious decisions in the supermarket help drive good healthy outcomes. Within the blue zones, dietary makes a huge amount. However, trying to figure out differences in dietary component around Australia and New Zealand was pretty hard going, apart from the obvious. Essentially, it comes down to a lot of raw foods not operating in a calorie surplus. Within the Oceania setting, it's a lot about increasing food choice, so it's just hard with a supermarket duopoly. It's about allowing farmers to come into the city with food stalls and farmers markets. It's about that good old veggie stall. Things like allowing charities who are fresh food focused to establish in your town, community gardens, and as fraught as it's been, but healthy school lunch programs and the education around that have a huge part in setting our countries up for the future.
It's one of the best meals that you're going to have, so I think you'd be amazed.
We're fortunate to have good healthcare infrastructure across Oceania. However, the regional nature of both countries means it's hard to get a uniform dressing. A couple of the innovations that have really set our countries in good stead, Accident Compensation New Zealand and the Flying Doctors, are really helping to get full penetration across both countries in terms of healthcare. So holistically, Australia and New Zealand are actually doing very well, or at the top end globally of lifespan and health span. Now within that there are suburbs that are doing slightly better, but it's minimal. At most it's 12 to 18 months in average mortality age. And you can actually have far more sway over things just within your personal decisions than what your postcode dictates. So smart decisions around diet, exercise, early access to healthcare will actually set you up far better so you can forego the stress of having to move house. There's a number of longevity, city making and real estate investment tangents we'd love to take from this topic. Please throw in the comments bits that you'd be particularly interested in and we might look to pick them up next time.